It was the kind of neighborhood where new gates shine bright and children rode bicycles on smooth streets. This was where Amara and her husband Tobe finally found their dream. After years of living in a small room with leaking roof, they now held keys to a real house. A house with 3 bedrooms and a backyard where flowers could grow. Their friends cheered as they stood at the gate. Amara's mother cried happy tears. Even the neighbors came out to welcome them. Everything felt perfect. Everything felt earned. But as they walked toward the front door, an old woman selling oranges by the roadside whispered something. "No one stays long in that house," she said quietly. Tobe laughed it off. "Old people and their stories," he said. Amara smiled, but something in her chest felt tight. When Tobe pushed the door open, the hinges made a long, tired sound. Inside, the air smelled like fresh paint and something else. Something old. As they stepped in with their boxes, Amara looked back one more time. The old woman was gone. But through the window, she saw a shadow move across the living room wall. A shadow that didn't belong to either of them. If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my folktale story from. That first night, they lit candles because the electricity had not been connected yet. The candlelight made the walls glow warm and soft. Amara cooked jollof rice, and they ate it sitting on the floor, laughing about how far they had come. "We did it, Amara," Tobe said, holding her hand. "We finally made it." She smiled, but then she heard it. A soft dripping sound. Drip, drip, drip. "Did you leave the tap running?" she asked. Tobe stood up and checked the kitchen. "No, everything is off." The sound continued. Drip, drip, drip. They searched the whole house, but found nothing. No leaking pipe, no wet floor. Yet the sound followed them from room to room. Later, as they unpacked, a framed photo of Amara's late father fell from the wall. It didn't just fall. It flew across the room and landed face down with a loud crack. Tobe picked it up. "The nail must be loose," he said. But there was no nail. The wall was smooth. That night, Tobe had a dream. He saw a man with hollow eyes kneeling beneath the floorboards. The man knocked from below, his voice weak and desperate. "Return what is not yours," the man whispered. Tobe woke up sweating. The next morning, Amara's best friend, Ngozi, came to visit. She brought a pot of soup and a bright smile. "I'm so happy for you," Ngozi said as she stepped through the door. But the moment she entered, her smile disappeared. Her eyes rolled back. Her body went stiff. Then she collapsed. "Ngozi!" Amara screamed. Tobe rushed to help. They carried her outside and poured water on her face. Slowly, Ngozi woke up, breathing hard and shaking. "What happened?" Amara asked. Ngozi looked confused. I don't know. When I stepped inside, I saw faces. Faces in the floor tiles. They were staring at me. Then everything went black. Tobe and Amara looked at each other, fear creeping into their hearts. After Ngozi left, Amara went to wash her hands. When she looked down at her palms, she froze. There were muddy handprints on her skin. Small handprints, like a child's. But she had not touched any mud. She had not even been outside. She scrubbed her hands hard under the tap, but the prints didn't wash away easily. They seemed pressed deep into her skin. The next day, Tobe went to work. Amara stayed home alone to finish unpacking. The house felt different without him. The walls seemed closer. The silence was too heavy. She decided to send a voice note to her sister. "Hey sis, I'm in a new house now. It's beautiful, but I don't know. Something feels off." Later, when her sister replied, she said, "Amara, listen to your voice note again." Amara played it back. Beneath her own voice, she heard something else. Whispers. Faint, but clear. "You live in our grave." Her phone dropped from her hand. That evening, the power went out. Total darkness swallowed the house. Amara lit a candle and stood still, listening. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Slow, steady, coming from upstairs. But she was alone. "Tobe," she called out, even though she knew he wasn't home. The footsteps stopped. Then they started again. Closer this time. Amara grabbed the candle and ran outside. She didn't go back in until Tobe came home. When he arrived, he found her sitting on the front step, shaking. "We need to leave this place," she whispered. Amara could not sleep that night. The next morning, she went to visit the neighbor, Madame Chenier. She was an old woman who had lived on the street for over 20 years. "Good morning, Ma," Amara greeted. Madame Chenier looked at her with tired eyes. "You are from the new house?" "Yes, Ma," the old woman sighed. "Sit down, my child." Amara sat on a wooden bench outside. Madame Chenier poured her some water and spoke slowly. "That land you're living on, it is not clean. Many years ago, before those houses were built, there was a herbalist who lived there. People said he was evil. They said he used charms to harm others. So the villagers gathered one night and buried him alive." Amara's heart pounded. But Madame Chenier continued, "Some say the real evil was not the herbalist. It was the man who accused him, a builder named Mr. Okeke. He wanted the land. So he lied. And after the herbalist was buried, Mr. Okeke built houses and sold them." "Where is Mr. Okeke now?" Amara asked. "Dead. He died in that same house. No one knows how." As Amara stood to leave, Madame Chenier whispered one last thing. "But not every curse comes from the dead, my daughter. Some curses come from the living." When Amara returned home, something felt wrong. The air inside the house was thick and sour. She walked into the kitchen and gasped. The fruits she had bought yesterday were rotting. Black mold covered the oranges. The bananas were soft and smelled like death. She had just bought them. How could they rot so fast? She turned on the tap to wash her hands. The water that came out was red, not rust, red like blood. Amara screamed and jumped back. Tobe came running. "What is it?" "The water. Look at the water." But when Tobe turned on the tap, clean water poured out. "Amara, there's nothing wrong," he said. "I saw it, Tobe. It was red." That evening, Tobe sat on the couch. Amara noticed something on his arm. Bruises. Dark bruises shaped like fingers. Like someone had grabbed him hard. "Tobe, what happened to your arm?" He looked down and his face went pale. I don't know. That night, they both heard it. A soft crying sound. It came from beneath the floor. A woman's voice, sobbing and calling for help. Tobe grabbed a hammer. "I'm going to find out what this is." He broke open a section of the floor. Dust flew everywhere. And there, buried beneath the wood, was a metal box. Amara and Tobe stared at the metal box. It was old and rusted, locked with a heavy chain. Tobe used the hammer to break the chain. The lock fell away with a loud clang. Slowly, he opened the box. Inside were bundles of old Naira notes. Thousands of them. There was also a strange charm made of bones and black thread. And beneath it all, a folded piece of paper. Tobe unfolded the paper. The handwriting was shaky, like someone wrote it in a hurry. It said, "Buried wealth, buried peace." Amara's hands trembled. "Tobe, we should not touch this." But Tobe's eyes were fixed on the money. "Amara, do you know how much this is? We can pay. Off everything. We can finally be free." "Free?" Amara said. "This money is cursed. Can't you feel it? We are in this house," Tobe said firmly. "We worked hard. If we found this, it's ours." Amara wanted to argue, but she was too afraid. That night, she woke up to find Tobe's side of the bed empty. She went outside and saw him in the backyard. He was digging in the soil with his bare hands, his eyes blank and distant. "Tobe," she shouted. He didn't respond. He just kept digging like someone else was controlling him. The next few days were a nightmare. The curse was no longer just inside their house. It had spread. Madame Chenier's grandson, a boy who loved to play football near their fence, suddenly collapsed one afternoon. His mother rushed him to the hospital. The doctors could not find anything wrong, but the boy kept screaming, "The house is watching me." The dogs in the neighborhood began to behave strangely. Every night, they gathered at Amara's gate and barked nonstop. Their eyes glowed in the dark. No one could make them stop. One by one, people who visited the house fell sick. Headaches, fever, nightmares. Even the estate security guard quit his job. Before he left, he told Amara something that made her blood run cold. "Madam, I've been watching your house at night. Even when your lights are off, I see someone standing in your window. Always looking out, always watching." "But that's impossible," Amara said. "We lock everything before we sleep." The guard shook his head. "I don't know who it is, but I will not stay here anymore. That house is not right." After he left, Amara sat on the floor and cried. She knew they had made a terrible mistake. Amara decided to invite Pastor Afani to the house. He was known as a powerful man of God who could break curses and cast out evil spirits. When the pastor arrived, he carried his Bible and a bottle of anointing oil. He walked through the house, praying loudly in tongues. "Every evil spirit in this place, I command you to leave in Jesus' name." Suddenly, all the doors in the house slammed shut at once. The windows, too. The sound was so loud it shook the walls. Pastor Afani stopped praying. His face turned pale. "What is happening?" Amara whispered. The pastor tried to open the front door, but it would not move. It was as if something was holding it closed from the other side. Then a voice echoed through the house. Deep, cold, angry. "This house rejects prayers not backed by truth." The pastor's Bible flew out of his hands and landed on the floor. Smoke began to rise from its pages. The Bible was burning. Pastor Afani screamed and ran. He forced the door open and fled without looking back, leaving Amara and Tobe standing alone in the smoke-filled room. Amara could not take it anymore. She needed answers. The next morning, she went to the local land registry office. She asked to see records about their house and the man who built it, Mr. Okeke. The clerk, an older man with glasses, searched through old files. Finally, he found something. "Ah, yes, Mr. Okeke. He was the developer of your estate. He finished building it 15 years ago, but he died shortly after. Very mysterious. No one knows how. Did he have family?" Amara asked. "No. No wife. No children. No heirs. Everything he owned was sold off." The clerk leaned closer and lowered his voice. "But there were rumors. People say he buried someone alive in the foundation of one of the houses. His business partner. The man tried to expose him for cheating, so Mr. Okeke silenced him forever." Amara's heart pounded. "Do you have a picture of the partner?" The clerk pulled out an old newspaper clipping. There was a faded photo of a man. Thin face. Hollow eyes. The same man Tobe had seen in his nightmare. Amara's hand shook as she held the paper. "This is him," she whispered. That night, a storm came. Thunder shook the sky. Rain pounded on the roof like angry fists. The lights in the house flickered on and off. Amara sat on the couch, staring at Tobe. He had been quiet all evening. His hands were shaking. His eyes looked tired and afraid. "Tobe," Amara said softly. "We need to talk." He didn't look at her. "Tobe, please. Tell me the truth. How did we afford this house?" Silence. "Tobe." Finally, he broke. Tears rolled down his face. His voice cracked as he spoke. "I stole the money." Amara's heart stopped. "I took it from my company," Tobe continued. "I changed numbers in the accounts. I moved money into my own account little by little. No one noticed. I used it for the down payment on this house." Amara could not breathe. You stole. I wanted to give us a better life." Tobe cried. "I was tired of struggling. I thought if I just did it once, we could be happy. But then I heard about this land. People warned me. They said it was cursed. But the price was so cheap. I ignored them. I thought it was just stories." The lights went out completely. The house was swallowed in darkness. Then a voice spoke from the shadows. Deep, cold, final. "Then your debt is due." Tobe began to cough. Not a normal cough. He was coughing up black liquid. It poured from his mouth like oil. His eyes rolled back until only the whites showed. "Tobe!" Amara screamed. But it was not Tobe anymore. When he spoke, the voice was not his. It was the voice from the darkness. "This house feeds on the unclean. Your greed brought you here. Your lies kept you here. Now you will pay." Amara tried to pray, but the words would not come out. The house began to shake. Pictures fell from the walls. The mirrors cracked one by one. In the broken mirrors, Amara saw something horrible. She saw herself and Tobe, but different. In a reflection, Tobe was kneeling, holding stolen money, his face twisted with greed. And she was standing beside him, silent, choosing comfort over truth. The voice hissed again. "You knew. Deep down you knew. But you said nothing." Amara fell to her knees, sobbing. Please forgive us." "This house does not forgive," the voice said. "It only reflects. What you carry in your heart, it brings to life. Your husband's greed, your silence. Both are sins." Tobe collapsed on the floor, shaking violently. Amara crawled to him, holding his head. "Don't take him, please." The voice laughed. "Your heart decides your fate." In her desperation, Amara stumbled toward the guest room. She had never fully explored that part of the house. The door was always stiff, like it didn't want to be opened. She pushed hard. The door creaked open. Inside, she found something strange. A narrow hallway she had never seen before. It was hidden behind the wall. The air inside was cold and smelled like old cement. At the end of the hallway was a large mirror, but it was not a normal mirror. When Amara looked into it, she did not see her reflection. She saw the truth. She saw Tobe on his knees, counting stolen money in a dark room. She saw him lying to her, saying the money came from a loan. She saw herself nodding, pretending to believe him because the lie was easier than the truth. Then the image changed. She saw a man buried beneath the foundation of the house. His hands were tied. His mouth was open in a silent scream. He had been left to die, alone in the dark, so that someone else could build and profit. The mirror showed her everything. Every lie, every secret, every sin that had ever entered this house. Then the mirror cracked down the middle. Behind it she saw bones, human bones, chained to the foundation. The man's spirit had been trapped here all along. Amara ran back to the living room. Tobe was still on the floor, barely breathing. The house was shaking. The walls were cracking. It felt like the whole place was about to collapse. She remembered the metal box, the cursed money. She ran to where they had hidden it and pulled it out. Her hands were shaking, but she knew what she had to do. She dragged the box outside into the rain. The storm was wild. Lightning split the sky. She opened the box and pulled out all the money. "Take it," she screamed into the wind. "Take the money. Take the greed. But leave the living alone." She piled the money on the ground and set it on fire. The flames rose high, even in the rain. The bills burned fast, turning to ash. The wind howled. The voice screamed. "You think fire can cleanse guilt?" "No," Amara shouted back. "But sacrifice can." She ran back inside and grabbed the charm from a box. She threw it into the fire too. Then she knelt in the mud and prayed. Not fancy words, just honest ones. "Forgive us. We were wrong. We choose truth now, even if it costs us everything." The flames grew brighter. The screaming stopped. The shaking slowed. And finally, the house went silent. Tobe gasped and opened his eyes. He was himself again. Weeks later, Amara and Tobe had moved out. They now lived in a small one-room apartment in town. It was not fancy, but it was clean, and it was honest. Tobe had confessed everything to his company. He returned what he could and accepted the punishment. He lost his job, but he kept his soul. One afternoon, Amara was walking past their old neighborhood. She saw the house. It had been repainted. A new sign stood outside. For sale. A young couple stood at the gate, smiling and holding keys. They looked so happy, so hopeful. Amara walked up to them slowly. "Excuse me," she said. "Before you go inside, pray first." The couple looked confused. "Just pray," Amara said. "Pray over your heart. Ask God to keep it clean, because a house doesn't curse you. Your own heart does." The couple nodded slowly, unsure but respectful. Amara walked away. As she did, she glanced back one more time. Through the window of the house, she saw it. A shadow. Tall. Still. Watching. She whispered a prayer and kept walking. Because some houses don't need ghosts to be haunted. They only need people who carry darkness inside. The story you have just heard is a beautiful African tale about truth and the weight of our choices. I'm telling you this to wake your mind to an important truth. Before you step into any new place, cleanse not just the space, but your own conscience. Evil doesn't always live in walls. Sometimes it lives in us. If you were Amara, and you discovered your partner had done something terrible to give you comfort, what would you do? Would you stay silent? Or would you speak the truth, even if it costs you everything? I want to know your opinion, because every story is like a candle that can light the path for someone else. God bless you, and may courage guide your hands. Meanwhile, on the final screen, I am leaving you with one of the channel's most beloved folktales. I'm sure you'll love it. Thank you for staying with me until this moment.